In this town, there's no off-season. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
It is always game day in Cleveland. I'm Andy Baskin. He's Daryl Ryder. We are brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, good to have you back. How you feeling?
I'm back. It's been a couple of weeks here, but I am back, and I think as good as I'm going to be.
Ooh, what would you say your voice is at there? Like 7 out of 10?
Yeah, 6? Pretty much. And
all right, well, let's use it, and let's make sure we get some information out in case it goes. Let's start with the new stadium update, because it sounds like the city of Cleveland and the Browns are back at it again. How's that sound?
Yeah, round and round they go. The Browns refiled an updated lawsuit in federal court on Tuesday, basically, saying what they've been saying as far as, the city of Cleveland's basically trying to hold them hostage. The Browns contending that the invocation of the Modell Law and what they're trying to do by building in Brook Park versus what Art Modell did in 1996 are two completely different things. And they feel like that the city of Cleveland is misleading folks intentionally about what is going on. They obviously mentioned that they're going to invest somewhere around $2 billion in private money into this complex out in Brook Park. And so, basically they would like this whole thing to go away. I've also been told, though, the Browns are willing to talk to the city of Cleveland about trying to get this stuff resolved, because keep in mind, they want to break ground a year from now. Within the next 12 months, they want to break ground.
And that would give them what, 3 years to build it?
Right. That would put them on the proper construction timeline to get the dome and phase one of that development built and open and running in time for August of 2029. So this is just kind of part of the next phase of the legal process. David Jenkins, who's the chief operating officer for the Haslam Sports Group and the Browns, he also wrote a letter to fans, and that got published on the team's website, just again reiterating a lot of what we already know, right? They want to build the dome. It's just part of the process, or the result of the process that they went through. They feel it's going to be more accessible to fans. 85% of Browns fans are outside the city of Cleveland, and there's two interstate highways right there, 480 and 71. And obviously you have 237, which is right next to Hopkins Airport. So this is not a situation where the Browns are leaving the county. They're literally going across the street from the city limits, where they want to build this complex. And so, yeah, this is just all, some legal maneuvering on the part of the Browns, as well as additional reminders for Browns fans who may have forgotten that the Browns want to build a dome and development that's going to cost around $3.4 billion all in there off of Snow and Angle Roads in Brook Park.
Your story at 92.3 The Fan also has another picture, I think maybe a little bit of a different look of the dome rendering that I don't know that we've seen yet, but it makes it very clear that they're trying to make sure that you feel like you're outdoors when you're actually indoors with that all glass roof.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty nice design. The same folks that designed the Minnesota Vikings Stadium are designing this, HKS Architects. They're trying to create that living room feel, that glass roof, that clear roof that they want to build, a little bit inspired by the Cleveland Museum of Art. It has that beautiful glass canopy there between the old museum and the new museum. So there's a little inspiration there. The seats are going to be the closest front row seat and also closest upper deck in the entire NFL. It's going to seat around 65,000 with 2,500 standing room only spots available. They can break the building down to, seat as few as 7,000 for an intimate concert, or obviously expand close to 70,000 for a major concert. But they do want to have the ability to recruit Final Fours, college football playoffs. The NFL draft has been promised if this gets built. Maybe the commissioner this year, it's something, because I'm convinced the commissioner is going to dangle a Super Bowl for Cleveland, because that's how this usually goes.
Right.
When it comes to big stadium projects, Nashville, the arms race is on. Nashville is building a dome. They're absolutely going to get a Super Bowl for doing that. The Chicago Bears want to build a dome. They will absolutely get a Super Bowl if that happens. The Philadelphia Eagles now, they want to build a dome. They will absolutely get to host a Super Bowl if that happens. The Kansas City Chiefs are exploring building a dome. They too would probably get a Super Bowl if that happens, right? The Washington Commanders are looking into building a dome. The Jacksonville Jaguars are putting a roof on top of their stadium. They're going to get a Super Bowl. So by that count, that is 8 roofs to be built in the National Football League. And all, close to the eastern side of the country here. I know Kansas City across the Mississippi River there, so that, they count as a Western facility. But yeah, you're talking, this competition, this arms race that is brewing. And the longer it takes to build a dome, the more expensive it gets. The Browns have explored, we've talked about it extensively, Andy, the Burke Lakefront thing. I mean, it's almost $1 billion more price tag. And that is if it opens on the same schedule, which it's not, which means you could probably add another $1 billion on top of that, because that airport's probably not going to be, or that land, I should say, that the airport's on is not going to be available for another 10 to 12 years or so. So, the Browns are feeling the time crunch here. They want to get this litigation resolved so that they can, complete their investment in that property. They've got a couple more payments that they have to make to the current developer, but they have secured, that property and the ability to complete the purchase of that 176 acres. But yeah, it's getting to be crunch time for the Browns. And of course, we know, the state involvement in this project seems to be very positive, based on things I'm hearing coming out of Columbus. Of course, I had a conversation with Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and his unique plan to try and fund these stadium projects statewide. So the clock is ticking here to get this project moving down the road. So that, I think that's part of the reason why the Browns kind of amended their filing in federal court. They really want to push this thing forward. Meanwhile, the city of Cleveland lawsuit against the Browns, that's in Cuyahoga County Court, like, they're doing pretrial conferences on the phone in April. Like, this thing is moving at a snail's pace. So I think the Browns are trying to supercharge the legal process and get this thing rolling.
It is interesting that 29 is the year that they would like to open the dome. And as of right now, there is no Super Bowl location for 29. If you look ahead to some of the Super Bowl locations that are out there, you're talking about Levi Stadium in Santa Clara for the Niners home for next year, then SoFi, and then Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. So you're looking at San Francisco, LA, and then Atlanta after that. And the door would be wide open for 29. What would be the earliest? Now, I don't know if they would have the Super Bowl there the first year that it's open, but man, that would be amazing. And just even the thought that they could have a Super Bowl in Cleveland, that is, I think that's got to be that's putting cash into this thing. We know what that could do for the economy if they did that. Plus, if you got Taylor Swift to come in, that's like having a Super Bowl too. So you'd go 2 for 2 right out of the gate with dates that could be already locked up, right?
Yeah, but the opponents to this project say that it is not going to generate the economic boom that the Browns say, that they don't believe that it's going to have a significant impact on the local economy. They don't believe that there's going to be many more dates added to the calendar than the current stadium, right? And so they also don't feel that the tax revenue that will be generated will match what the Browns claim will be able to be generated by that complex. So, there is opposition to it, right? And
yeah, I agree. Do you agree? I mean, look, if you tell me they're going to bring in even 5 more dates than we see in the current stadium. That's 5 more events that's going to bring in. That's also the opportunity to bring in major concerts. If it's an opportunity, I'm not saying it's happening, but it's the opportunity to bring in major concerts.
Well, the reason I'm such a proponent of the project actually has very little to do with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as you. I agree with you. I just want to see more than 15 dates used by a taxpayer, or at least a somewhat taxpayer-funded facility.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. If you spend $1 billion on the existing stadium, they still need another $700 million over 20 years to maintain it after it's renovated. So that's $1.7 billion. Why not just build a brand new building that's indoors that can house events, that you can flip a building over in 24 hours? You can hold a big concert on one night, host a football game the next night, right? Or host multiple football games back to back and things like that. And again, there's no guarantees in any of this. There's no guarantee that the Browns will be able to bid for a Super Bowl. There's hotel requirements. I think it's 35 or 40,000 hotel rooms within an hour of the stadium location are required by the NFL. I know that there's a certain number of premium presidential suite type hotel rooms that have to be made available. I know that there's tax incentives that the NFL requests when it comes to like Super Bowl bidding and things like that. And so maybe that doesn't have the impact that a lot of folks believe it's going to have. Again, it is something that should be debated. But my point is, if you're going to invest that kind of money in a building, let's get something new with a roof on it that can be used at any given time. And there will be no limitations with it being a grass surface or it being outdoors or events that can't be held because it's in football season, right? I mean,
right.
That's my thing is you get a building that has that kind of flexibility. And then the other part of this too, Andy, is the infrastructure we already have here. We have the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission that does a phenomenal job. Along with
although they have said they're not in favor of the dome, right? I thought they said that. Yeah.
Right,
hang on, let's bring this up because
they're not exactly jumping on board with the plan.
No, but they would be if it's up, right? That's what I would think. So, all right, let's come back here in a moment. It's always game day in Cleveland. We got other things to talk about. You talked about a concert. Another one. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. So, Daryl, you were talking about concerts in the potential new dome that would open in 2029. How about the fact that the Browns decided they want to do a major concert on draft night with Journey? Yeah. Tell me what this is all about, my friend.
Don't stop believing, right?
Does this make you think they're going to make a major pick too if they're going to do that?
Yeah, I don't think they're trading down or drafting a tackle or something.
You think the fact they're bringing Journey in for the draft is a sign that they're going to draft a quarterback?
I think it's a sign that they've got big plans for draft night. Well, I mean, why would you do think about that? Why would you do that?
Because the Browns haven't had a first round pick in 3 years. They really haven't done a whole lot. I heard this argument today too, and I agree with some of the stuff. Season ticket holders have been, they need something to hang their hat on because they're not getting a whole lot on the field.
And they raised ticket prices again.
Yeah. So,
14 season.
You're doing a private concert for Journey, right? For your season ticket holders.
I wouldn't exactly say the Browns read the room by raising season ticket prices after a 3-14 season, but
no.
It's great that they're doing that, right? I've had some fans text me that I'm friends with and say, "Hey, I wish they gave us better season ticket gifts rather than a Journey concert." But
right,
hey, something's that's obviously better than what fans feel that the Browns have given them as far as additional perks and things like that. But yeah, the fact that it is done for season ticket holders on draft night. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, Journey tickets were not cheap when they were here a couple of years ago down on the lakefront. So the fact that the Browns are bringing these guys back to come in and do a pre-draft show, I think it's going to be like from 6 to 8. It's going to be like a 2 hour.
They're supposed to play right up until the pick, right?
Yeah.
And then do they come back out after they make the pick and then?
Well, we do know one song that's probably off the set list is Separate Ways. Myles Garrett's back, so
right. That's a good point. Okay.
they're probably not going to have to play that song. But yeah, I don't know. And especially because they kept Myles Garrett, I'm thinking, all right, well, then why would they draft Abdul Carter now? Because they kept their franchise pass rusher. So
because you could be great on both sides of the defensive line. I don't know.
I don't know.
That's a good idea to me if I think so. So
what if they trade up to number 1 to take Cam Ward? What if what if
then it works?
Right? Because I think Cam Ward's a better prospect than Shedeur Sanders. I'm not a big Shedeur Sanders fan.
So you're trying to tell me here on March 18th that this is already a done deal, that Tennessee will switch with us?
No, I'm not trying to tell you that.
Well, I mean, they're bringing Journey in for this thing. That's why I just think I don't know how you can equate the fact they're bringing Journey in with the fact that they're going to make a big deal and this has got to be a quarterback as their selection. What happens if they trade the pick away? I mean,
Journey's going to have to keep playing. They're going to have to come out for an encore.
That's right. They'll keep playing. Hey, by the way, we traded the pick. All right. Wheel in the sky.
Yeah, the other thing that's kind of interesting is no team in the NFL has made a trade involving their first round pick so far. Everybody owns their first round pick. First time in a very long time that we're this deep. We're recording this on March 18, right?
Right.
There have been no trades involving first round picks. Everyone owns their own picks, so we'll see if some things get moved around. But yeah, I kind of feel like. The Browns are painted into a corner because as we're recording this right now, they only have one quarterback. His name is Kenny Pickett.
Right. And we haven't even talked about that yet. What are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, okay. He's better than DTR.
Yeah, that's I think too. I'm telling you, the day they traded for him, my phone was filled with throw up emojis. And I'm like, guys, chill out. I go, first of all, there's no guarantee he's a starter. They'll give him a chance to be the starter, but it also depends on what the rest of the room looks like. Is he better than DTR? That's what I think you had to ask yourself, and the answer is yes.
Yes, he can actually read a playbook. So
there you go.
He's by default better than DTR. So yeah, I just feel like that. Just the way reading the tea leaves, it makes too much sense for that not to draft a quarterback. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that. I hate making decisions based on needs or because you feel like you're painted into a corner. But Andy, that's kind of where they're at right now.
Of course
they need a quarterback. They got to take a swing, and you don't know unless you take a swing. So for me, it's you got to come away with either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I have questions about both of those guys. I'm not confident in either one of them, but this is just where the Browns are at. So, I guess I'm resigning myself to accepting that is what ultimately Andrew Berry is going to decide to do come draft night.
Kirk Cousins' name, it was on the table all over the place. There were people that had said they thought Kirk Cousins would already be on the roster as of Monday of this week. And then the Falcons decided to give him his $10 million bonus, roster bonus. So is he on the table, off the table, or is Atlanta just looking for some return compensation for him?
I think he's off the table for right now.
For right now. Isn't that the key? Yeah, I think it's for right now too. Okay.
They paid the bonus. The reality is the Browns cannot trade for that contract as is. Okay. Because they don't have the salary cap room to be able to absorb the contract existing. There's got to be a restructure there. Falcons going to have to pay some more of that contract, whatever. Because the whole premise is he'd get released by Atlanta and then he'd come here on a close to veteran minimum deal, similar to what Kenny Pickett's being paid. Kenny Pickett's around $2.4 million, something like that, right? That's about what you'd want to have to pay Kirk Cousins. So that's the theory behind that. You look at some of the other quarterbacks that have already signed contracts this offseason, you're talking 10, 20 plus $1 million for those guys. That's out of the Browns' budget right now for what they can afford to do. Not from a cash standpoint, but from a cap standpoint, because you don't want to make any long-term commitments to these guys either. Like, keep that in mind. You're already getting a ton of cap cash down the road with Deshaun Watson, so you don't want to have to bring in a guy, pay him $10, $20 million a year in cash. That's fine, but then you got to do all these void years or whatever to keep that salary cap number low. So, you're talking guys like Russell Wilson, which I don't know at this point if that's going to happen. He left Berea really without any kind of an offer.
Do you want that to happen? I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't want it.
I'll be honest. I'm just indifferent. I'm indifferent on what they do with the veteran quarterback at this point, Andy, because there are no good options. Like there's no one that if they don't get him, I'm going to sit here and say, boy, Andrew Berry really missed the boat on that one. And so I'm just kind of in wait and see mode. Let's see what Andrew Berry ultimately does. And that's just going to be what it is. There's going to be no reason to get upset, no reason to be, firing off hot takes or whatever. Like, there are no good options at quarterback this offseason. There are no good options.
No, I think the only other thing they really can do that would, totally excite people is if they decided to make another trade for somebody's starting quarterback right now because they drafted somebody and they were like, well, all right, we're time to turn the page, but that doesn't guarantee it. And then if somebody else has a starting quarterback that's worth anything, why would they trade him anyway? So I do think you're right. They're boxed in.
Or one of these young quarterbacks that are on a team's roster, but not getting an opportunity right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a flyer. That's what fans have to understand. No matter what is going to happen at the quarterback, Kenny Pickett was a flyer.
Yeah, he was.
Everything they're going to do at quarterback this year, whether they sign somebody, whether they trade for another guy, they're going to draft somebody. All of it, Andy, is throwing it on the wall and hoping it sticks. That is what the quarterback situation is for the Browns this offseason. It is an absolutely awful place to be in, but that's where they're at. And part of that's Andrew Berry's fault. So, hey, you made your bed. You got to lie in it now. But there are no good options, draft or in free agency. So throw against the wall, see if you get lucky. Maybe you find lightning in a bottle and act. Hey, what if Kenny Pickett turns out to be something, right?
You never know. I agree with you on that.
Never know. So but you have to take swings at it at this point. You got to take some shots and hope something works, because here's the thing, Andy. I'm projecting that the Browns are going to be in a similar position this time next year anyway. So you'll be right there to take another swing.
That one could be Manning. All right, we'll come back in a second, and we'll talk about some of the roster moves that have happened since we've been out. It is always game day in Cleveland. Stick around, more after this. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. It is always game day in Cleveland, brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. All right, Daryl, let's talk about some of the moves. Obviously, one that we didn't talk about that's been talked about to death is Myles Garrett. How did he end up back on the roster?
Well, they bought his loyalty. That's what.
Yeah, they did.
Right? They showed him money. That's how that happened. And also, too, I think Myles kind of figured out that he was stuck anyway. They weren't going to trade him. They couldn't trade him at least until after June 1st anyway. He was stuck. It's a shame that it got as ugly as it did, because I don't think it needed to get that ugly. But
there was a lot of bad stuff on Myles when it was over too. About the, not going to mandatory meetings and some stuff like that, and being late. I was surprised by some of that stuff that had come out. I
was not, but
like I said, the keywords had come out.
Yeah. Now the onus though goes on Myles to do his part to inject the proper culture into that locker room. You can't build culture by spending money. Think about this. The Browns spent nearly $400 million in cash on two guys that told them no originally.
I know.
Deshaun Watson and Myles Garrett. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully the Myles thing goes a lot better than the Deshaun thing went. And also Myles doesn't have the baggage that Deshaun has.
True.
There's that part of it too. But, it's fine if you want to walk around and talk about not being aligned and the team not ready to win and things like that's fine. But now that you're back in the fold and you're going to be paid record money, it's time for you now to step it up. He's a great player on the field. Okay. He is a future Hall of Famer, undisputed. He's a pretty good guy off the field too. But the Browns have a crap culture. They really always have had.
Daryl, let me ask you this, though, because I brought this up on our show. Everything that I told them, maybe this is one of the reasons to lean back to Joe Flacco. I had heard that when Joe was there, it was the best culture they had since '99.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
I would agree.
So now they know what it looks like. They know what the right culture should be inside that locker room.
But you know what happens too when you don't when the entire locker room knows the quarterback is the wrong guy,
Right.
it festers. And I think that that's what happened last year. Everybody saw it in training camp, including myself. And I got nothing but grief because I kept telling people, this offense is terrible right now. It's not good. And I kept getting called a hater and this, that, and the other. And that's fine. But I was right. Okay. And it did. And the thing is, though, and this is where the culture problem came in. Once Deshaun got hurt, it didn't get better. The team didn't get better. The team didn't play harder. The team didn't play better. They didn't.
There was the moment with Jameis, though, that I think people thought, oh, you know what, maybe, okay, I know he can throw for 800 yards a game. Unfortunately, 230 to the wrong team, right? I mean.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Yeah. And I'm not a former, pro athlete. So it's hard for me to speak on like what leadership should look like within a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I do know. Nick Chubb don't talk, right?
Right.
Great player. Everyone he
talks with his actions.
Right. But he's not a leader. He doesn't have that personality to be a leader, right? Deshaun Watson, I don't think has a personality to be a leader. Even if he was even if he came in here and he did everything, was available and played well and all that, guys didn't never gravitated toward his locker to hang out the way I saw they did with Joe Flacco instantaneously. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett, again, future Hall of Famer. I don't think Myles Garrett's a leader. And I don't know that it's fair just because he is the best player on the team or he's a future Hall of Famer or now he's one of the highest paid players on the team that we just all assume he's going to be the leader, right?
Right.
I mean, if it's not in his personality to be a leader, then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, with staying in your lane and just going out and doing your thing and sacking quarterbacks and whatever. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I feel like leadership in that building is constantly forced. Deshaun Watson never did anything to deserve a captain badge. Okay. And so I think that breeds negative culture because everyone in the locker room sees that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I feel like last year you just had this kind of snowball effect with a negative culture. It's like, wow, we are what we are. We suck this year. Let's just get through the rest of the season, get into the offseason and recuperate and, see what they do at quarterback. And then we'll all come back and be re-energized and reinvigorated or whatever. Good that Joel Bitonio came back. God love him. He's one of my favorite Browns since 1999. I joke that he's a glutton for punishment for coming back for a 12th season, but he's also a stand-up guy and a man of his word, and he's going to fulfill his contract, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't really do anything in free agency that, blows you away, whether it's bringing in Malik Collins or, well,
I do want to kind of go through some Malik Collins,
Cornelius
Lucas,
Devin Bush, trading for Kenny Pickett or, they didn't really do anything to move the needle here in free agency. And I'm not criticizing because frankly, there wasn't a needle to be moved in free agency either. It just wasn't good. This is the wrong year to be coming off a 3-14 season and needing to retool, rebuild your roster, right?
Right.
They've got 10 draft picks that they're going to use, and hopefully let's project 6 of those 10 guys can do something to help this team this year. Fingers crossed, including maybe the quarterback. But when you have poor culture, right, and you keep looking to good players, great players that just aren't natural leaders, I think that doesn't help your culture. And then you give contracts to people you shouldn't give contracts to, and guys aren't available, and and things going on may or may not be going on behind the scenes that should or shouldn't be going on, right?
Right.
Kevin Stefanski, I think, is a really good coach. Do I think he's a leader? Not a chance in hell. That guy, he's a wonderful man. Okay, this isn't personal, but that guy doesn't inspire me to do anything. Okay, he doesn't inspire me to put on a shirt and shoes. But I do know he's extremely intelligent. He's extremely creative and masterful when it comes to offensive football. Okay. But you see what I'm saying? They've never been able to find quality leadership on a consistent basis. Joe Thomas was the leader of the team for years. It's a freaking left tackle. Again, no disrespect to Joe, who's a Hall of Famer and one of the again, on my Mount Rushmore of great guys that have come through Berea. They need leaders in that locker room, right?
Right.
Anthony Walker, they kept trying to make him a leader. And I think he was to a degree. But the guy was here on a 1 year, he kept, getting 1 year contracts. There's no commitment there. Yeah,
Right.
he's a leader. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense.
So when you have, I just feel like that aside from some talent deficiency, they really do have a culture and leadership problem in that organization. And I know there will be folks who be like, Daryl's just hating again and crapping all over the Browns. But Andy, I really believe that's at the heart of their problems, aside from not having a franchise quarterback, is the fact that they keep looking to the wrong people that aren't born to be leaders, even if they're great players, to be their leaders. And it's not working.
All right, Daryl, that'll give us plenty to talk about over the next few weeks as we roll on with It's Always Game Day in Cleveland, get a little bit closer to the draft, and as free agency keeps kicking in. Evan O'Brien is our amazing producer, and this is It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. For Daryl, I'm Andy. We'll talk to you soon.